to our amazing Infidelity Tales Lab family. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. Your support means the world. Quick question. Where are you listening from today? Which city? Which country? Drop it below. Now, let's dive into today's story. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Trevor Gilbert's home office, highlighting the sleek modernist furniture and walls adorned with architectural awards. At 42, Trevor cut an imposing figure as he stood behind his desk, his 6 feet 2 inches frame testament to years of pre-dawn workouts that balanced his demanding career. His steel-gray eyes remained fixed on his wife Natasha, who paced before him with the practiced strut of someone who had rehearsed this moment. "Aren't you going to say anything?" Natasha's voice carried a note of irritation. She'd expected tears, rage, perhaps even begging. Instead, Trevor's measured silence threw her off balance. About what specifically? Trevor's tone remained neutral as he observed her expensive designer outfit paid for with his credit card just last week. The affair with Wesley, or the attempted theft of my designs? Natasha's step faltered for just a moment before she recovered, tossing her perfectly styled dark hair. "Oh, so you know about Wesley? Good. That makes this easier." Her red lips curved into a cruel smile. "Your brother's everything you're not, Trevor. Bigger, stronger, more satisfying." Trevor's expression didn't change as he noted the slight tremor in her hand, the tell she'd had since he'd first met her 15 years ago, the one that appeared whenever she was bluffing at poker. "Is that all?" "All." Natasha's voice rose an octave. "I'm leaving you for your twin brother. And that's your response? Is that all?" She stalked closer to his desk, her Jimmy Choo heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "Wesley's promised me a huge share in your family's engineering firm. We're moving into his beach house, you know, the one with the ocean view you could never afford because you were too busy being ethical with your projects." Trevor's lips twitched slightly. The same beach house he bought with embezzled company funds? Interesting choice. "What?" Natasha's facade cracked for a moment before she rallied. "You're lying. You're just jealous because Wesley knows how to enjoy life while you spend every waking moment obsessing over your precious bridges. My precious bridges paid for everything you're wearing." Trevor's gaze flicked to her left hand. "Including that sapphire ring Wesley gave you last month. The one you thought I hadn't noticed." Natasha's right hand instinctively covered her left. "Your parents have already blessed our relationship. They understand that Wesley's the son who should have been running the company all along. They're just too afraid of your reaction to say it publicly." Trevor turned to his computer, effectively dismissing her. "If that's all, you can go. I have work to finish." "Work?" Natasha spat the word. "Your precious, earthquake-resistant bridge design? Wesley says it's fundamentally flawed anyway. You're pathetic, Trevor. A pathetic workaholic who doesn't know how to satisfy a woman or enjoy life. Wesley's twice the man you are." "Interesting theory." Trevor began typing, the soft click of keys underlining his indifference. "Close the door on your way out." Natasha stood there for a moment longer, her carefully planned scene falling flat in the face of Trevor's composure. Finally, she turned on her heel and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the awards on the wall. Trevor waited 5 minutes after her departure, listening to her car start and pull out of the driveway. Only then did he open his secure email and send a pre-written message to his contact at the FBI's white-collar crime division. The security footage played silently on Trevor's monitor later that evening, the infrared cameras providing perfect clarity despite the darkness. He sat in his private study, a glass of single malt untouched beside him as he watched months of recorded betrayal unfold. February 14th. Wesley and Natasha entering his home office at 2 a.m., using a key Trevor had never authorized. March 3rd. Wesley photographing documents on Trevor's desk while Natasha kept watch. April 17th. Both of them accessing his computer, Natasha distracting him on the phone with a manufacturer crisis while Wesley installed something on the hard drive. Trevor had installed the security system after a series of break-ins at properties containing valuable engineering plans. He told everyone it was simple paranoia. In reality, he'd noticed the subtle signs months ago. Natasha's unexplained absences, Wesley's sudden interest in Trevor's current projects, the way certain files on his computer had been accessed while he was away at conferences. The footage confirmed every suspicion. His twin brother wasn't just sleeping with his wife, they were engaged in a coordinated effort to steal his breakthrough bridge design, one that could revolutionize construction in earthquake zones. A knock at the study door interrupted his viewing. Trevor checked the security panel. Lorraine Dickerson, his friend of 20 years and the firm's legal counsel, stood in the hallway. Her usual confident posture was absent, replaced by nervous energy that radiated through the camera feed. "Come in, Lorraine." Trevor didn't bother standing as she entered. Noting the way, she clutched her designer handbag like a shield. "Trevor, I need to tell you something." Lorraine remained standing, her knuckles white around the bag's leather strap. "It's about Wesley. Let me save you some time." Trevor turned his monitor so she could see the footage. 6 months ago, Wesley approached you about transferring my patents to a shell company he created. You agreed to help him, despite knowing it was illegal and a violation of your ethical obligations as my attorney. Lorraine's face drained of color. "How did you?" "No." Trevor's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I've known for months. I just wanted to see how far you'd all go." "The answer is pretty far, it seems." "Trevor, please let me explain." "Wesley said it was what your parents wanted, that they were worried about your mental state. He had documents, forged documents." Trevor's voice remained calm, but Lorraine took an instinctive step back. "Save your explanations, Lorraine. You can show yourself out and expect to hear from the Bar Association first thing tomorrow morning." "You can't do this to me." Lorraine's composure cracked entirely. "I've been your friend for 20 years. I was at your wedding." "Yes, you were." Trevor turned back to his monitor. "Which makes your betrayal particularly interesting from a legal ethics perspective. I'm sure the disciplinary board will find it fascinating. Close the door on your way out." Lorraine stood there, mouth working silently, before fleeing the study. Trevor waited until he heard her car start, then reached for his phone. A few taps brought up a secure messaging app. "Everything proceeding as expected," he typed. "Initiate phase 2 tomorrow morning." The response came immediately. "FBI team standing by. Operation begins at 0900. Trevor finally reached for his whiskey, taking a small sip as he considered the next day's board meeting. His parents and Wesley would be there, undoubtedly prepared to force him into a leave of absence. They had no idea they were walking into a trap years in the making. His phone buzzed again. Natasha, calling probably to make more dramatic declarations. Trevor silenced it without a glance. In the morning, everyone who had betrayed him would understand exactly who they'd underestimated. For now, he had more security footage to review. The Gilbert Engineering Group's downtown offices occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming skyscraper, a building Trevor had helped design early in his career. He arrived 10 minutes before the scheduled 9 a.m. board meeting, his charcoal suit impeccable, his manner unhurried. The executive conference room fell silent as he entered. His parents, Robert and Eleanor Gilbert, sat at the head of the table, with Wesley beside them. All 3 froze when they saw him, guilt and surprise warring on their faces. "Son," Robert recovered first, his artificial warmth fooling no one. "We didn't expect you today. Given the circumstances with Natasha, we thought you might take some time off." "Did you?" Trevor set his briefcase on the table with deliberate care. "Before we discuss my marriage, I think we should address some company business. Specifically, the unauthorized access to my designs, the attempted patent theft, and the shell company Wesley created to sell my work to our competitors." Wesley shot to his feet, his expensive suit failing to hide his soft physique. "You're lying." "Mother, father, he's obviously having some kind of breakdown. This is exactly what I warned you about." Interesting response. Trevor removed a thick folder from his briefcase. Usually, innocent people ask what evidence exists rather than immediately shouting denials. "Would you like to see the evidence, Wesley?" "I have quite a lot." "Now, Trevor," Eleanor began, her manicured hands clasped tightly. "I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. Wesley's been nothing but concerned about you, working such long hours, becoming so paranoid about security. The FBI doesn't think it's a misunderstanding." Trevor checked his watch. "In fact, they're very interested in corporate espionage cases. They should be here any minute." As if on cue, the conference room doors opened. 2 men in dark suits entered, followed by a team of agents wearing FBI jackets. "Wesley Gilbert?" The lead agent held up his badge. I'm Special Agent Morgan. We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of corporate espionage, wire fraud, and embezzlement. This is ridiculous. Wesley backed away from the table. Father, do something. Robert stood, his face purple with rage. Trevor, stop this immediately. He's your brother. Was my brother. Trevor sat down, straightening his tie. Now he's just another corporate criminal about to face federal charges. I'd advise everyone to cooperate fully with the investigation. Agent Morgan's team will need access to all company records. You can't do this. Wesley's voice cracked as agents approached him. Mother, tell him. Eleanor turned to Trevor, tears in her eyes. Please, sweetheart, he's your twin. We can work this out as a family. Family? Trevor's smile was cold. Interesting word choice, given recent events. Agent Morgan, I believe you'll find the evidence of embezzlement particularly interesting. The records are in the folder on the table. The agents led Wesley out in handcuffs, his protests echoing down the hallway. Robert and Eleanor sat in stunned silence as FBI agents began setting up equipment around them. One more thing. Trevor stood, adjusting his cuffs. Given the current situation, I've called an emergency board meeting for noon. We'll need to discuss the leadership transition. I suggest everyone review the bylaws before then, particularly the sections regarding removal of officers involved in criminal activities. He walked out without looking back, leaving his parents to face the consequences of their choices. His phone buzzed Natasha again, probably having heard about Wesley's arrest. Trevor silenced it without breaking stride. The day wasn't over yet. By nightfall, everyone who had betrayed him would understand exactly who they'd crossed. Trevor allowed himself a small smile as he entered his private office, closing the door on the chaos behind him. The real work was just beginning. The news of Wesley Gilbert's arrest spread through Gilbert Engineering Group like wildfire. Employees gathered in hushed clusters, their smartphones buzzing with updates as FBI agents methodically worked their way through the building's top 3 floors. Kurt Dunham watched from his corner office as agents carried boxes of documents past his door. At 55, he'd spent decades managing projects for the firm, growing increasingly resentful of Trevor Gilbert's meteoric rise. Now, with Wesley in custody and chaos erupting, he saw his opportunity. His phone lit up with an incoming call from Natasha Gilbert or Natasha Bowen, as she'd reverted to her maiden name mere hours after Wesley's arrest. Tell me you have something we can use. Natasha's voice carried an edge of desperation beneath its usual arrogance. Kurt smiled, running a hand over his thinning hair. Better than that. I've got proof Trevor's been making critical errors in his calculations. The kind that could bring down buildings. Are you sure? Because we need something solid. Wesley's lawyers are useless, and his parents are in complete shock. Trust me? Kurt pulled up a folder on his computer labeled GilbertTrevorErrors.pdf. I've been documenting his mistakes for months. The board will have no choice but to remove him once they see this. I've already scheduled an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. Perfect. Natasha's smile was audible. Wesley says Trevor's always been unstable. Brilliant, but prone to paranoid delusions. Once we prove he's making dangerous mistakes, the FBI investigation will look like a mental breakdown, Kurt finished. And the board will need someone experienced to step in and restore stability. Someone like you? Natasha's tone turned honeyed. I'm sure Wesley would be very grateful for your help once this misunderstanding is cleared up. Kurt ended the call, satisfaction warming his chest. He'd waited years to see Trevor Gilbert fall. Now, thanks to carefully manufactured evidence and a few strategic alterations to project files, he'd be the one to push him. Trevor sat in his home office, reviewing security footage from the cameras he'd installed throughout the building years ago, a precaution his paranoid reputation had made easy to justify. On his screen, Kurt Dunham ended his call with Natasha, unaware that every word had been recorded. A soft knock interrupted his viewing. Enter. Sarah Chun, his executive assistant of 8 years, stepped inside. Her usual professional demeanor was colored by concern. The PR team needs your response to the press inquiries. And Mr. Dunham has called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. Has he? Trevor's lips curved slightly. What's the stated agenda? Questions about project safety and leadership stability. Sarah hesitated. There are also rumors circulating about your mental health. Mr. Dunham's assistant mentioned something about documentation of errors. I'm sure he did. Trevor turned his monitor so Sarah could see multiple video feeds. How long have you known about Kurt's monthly meetings with our competitors? Sarah's eyes widened as she watched Kurt Dunham shake hands with executives from rival firms in various hotel lobbies and restaurants. Is that why certain projects kept falling behind schedule? Delayed projects mean extended contracts. Extended contracts mean more opportunities for kickbacks. Trevor forwarded several files to his secure server. The FBI will be very interested in Mr. Dunham's offshore accounts. Should I cancel tomorrow's board meetings? No. Trevor's smile didn't reach his eyes. Let Kurt have his moment. Just make sure every board member receives this folder of evidence 10 minutes after he begins his presentation. Sarah nodded, her respect for her boss deepening. The PR statement? No comment on ongoing investigations. Standard response. Trevor turned back to his monitors. And Sarah? Thank you for never taking Wesley's bribes to spy on me. He tried 3 times, Sarah replied crisply. I recorded all 3 attempts. I know. Trevor's tone held genuine warmth. That's why you're the only person in this company I trust completely. After Sarah left, Trevor returned to his surveillance feeds. Across town, Natasha was holding court at an exclusive restaurant, loudly sharing her concerns about her soon-to-be ex-husband's mental state with anyone who would listen. He's been getting worse for years. Her voice came clearly through the restaurant security system, which Trevor had accessed months ago. Wesley tried to warn everyone, but no one would listen. Now look what he's done to his own brother. Trevor switched feeds to the county jail's visitor area, where Wesley sat in an orange jumpsuit, his usual swagger replaced by barely contained panic. You don't understand, Wesley was saying to their parents. Trevor's got everything wrong. I was trying to protect the company from him. He's not stable. Don't worry, darling. Eleanor Gilbert patted her imprisoned son's hand. We'll fix this. Your father is calling in every favor he has. Trevor closed the feed, checking his watch. In 12 hours, Kurt Dunham would present his manufactured evidence to the board. In 13 hours, Kurt's career and freedom would be over. And that would be just the beginning. The Gilbert Engineering Group's main boardroom was packed the next morning. Board members whispered among themselves as Kurt Dunham connected his laptop to the presentation system, his confidence evident in every movement. Trevor sat quietly at the far end of the table, his expression neutral as he watched his project manager prepare to destroy him. Natasha had chosen a seat near the front, her designer outfit and perfect makeup a stark contrast to her red-rimmed eyes that had been perfectly dry in the restaurant security footage from the previous night. Thank you all for coming, Kurt began, his voice grave. What I'm about to show you is difficult, but necessary for the safety of our company and our clients. The first slide appeared a complex set of calculations with key sections highlighted in red. These are from Trevor Gilbert's earthquake-resistant bridge design, Kurt continued. As you can see, there are critical errors in the stress load calculations, errors that could result in catastrophic failure. Trevor watched as board members leaned forward, frowning at the technical data. He noted which ones nodded along, marking them for future reference. This isn't an isolated incident. Kurt clicked to the next slide. I've documented a pattern of increasingly serious mistakes over the past year, combined with Mr. Gilbert's recent paranoid behavior, launching federal investigations against his own brother. Mr. Dunham, Trevor's voice cut through the room. Could you explain why the timestamp on that document shows it was modified last night at 11:47 p.m.? Kurt faltered for a moment. I was simply formatting. Interesting. Trevor nodded to Sarah, who began distributing folders to each board member. You might want to hold your questions until everyone has had a chance to review these materials. The room fell silent as board members opened their folders. Natasha craned her neck, trying to see the contents, her composure cracking as she watched faces turn from confusion to shock to anger. Mr. Dunham, the head of the board, looked up from his folder. Would you care to explain these bank transfers? And these emails arranging kickbacks from contractors? That's not. Kurt's face had gone gray. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Trevor's paranoid accusations are supported by extensive documentation. Trevor finished calmly. Documentation that's already been provided to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. They should be arriving right about. The boardroom door opened. Two FBI agents stepped inside. Curtis Dunham? The lead agent held up his badge. We need you to come with us. This is insane. Kurt backed away from the table. Natasha, tell them about Trevor's mental state. But Natasha was already moving toward the door, her facade of concern replaced by naked fear as she realized how completely they'd underestimated Trevor Gilbert. Mrs. Gilbert, the second agent called after her. Please remain available. We'll have questions about your role in these events. Trevor watched silently as Kurt was led away in handcuffs, his protests echoing down the hallway just as Wesley's had the day before. Board members sat in stunned silence, still processing the evidence of years of fraud and kickbacks. Now then, Trevor stood, straightening his tie. Shall we discuss the real state of our projects? I believe you'll find all calculations are precisely accurate and backed up by independent verification. The following week brought a fresh wave of chaos to Gilbert Engineering Group. Trevor sat in his office, reviewing reports as Sarah provided updates on the fallout. Kurt Dunham's arrest made the industry papers, she noted, scrolling through her tablet. His confession implicated 3 other project managers and 2 competing firms. The FBI's expanding their investigation. And my parents? Still trying to arrange Wesley's release. But, Sarah hesitated. But, there's something you should see. She handed him a tablet displaying internal company documents. I found these while organizing the digital archives. They're share transfer agreements from 5 years ago. Your parents secretly transferred 15% of the company to Wesley. Trevor studied the documents, his expression unchanged. Did they really think I wouldn't discover this? There's more. Sarah pulled up additional files. I cross-referenced the dates with their tax returns. The transfers weren't properly reported, and I found evidence of other tax irregularities going back a decade. Excellent work. Trevor forwarded the files to a secure address. The IRS will be very interested in this information. Should I schedule a meeting with your parents to discuss the transfers? No need. Trevor turned to his computer. They'll have more pressing concerns very soon. Sarah nodded, understanding the dismissal. At the door, she paused. Natasha's been trying to reach you. She claims she has new information about Wesley's activities. I'm sure she does. Trevor's tone held no emotion. Direct all her calls to the FBI's tip line. After Sarah left, Trevor opened his private email. Within hours, an anonymous tip would reach the IRS about his parents' tax evasion. By the end of the week, their carefully maintained reputation would begin to crumble. His phone buzzed Natasha again, this time with a text, "Please, Trevor. We need to talk. I know things about Wesley you need to hear." Trevor added the number to his block list without responding. On his screen, security footage showed Natasha pacing in her hotel room, makeup streaked with genuine tears now that her world was collapsing. A soft chime indicated an incoming email from his FBI contact. Second round of arrests scheduled for tomorrow. Surveillance confirms target locations. Proceed as discussed. Proceed, Trevor typed back. He'd waited years to dismantle the corruption in his family's company. Now, piece by piece, every betrayal would be answered. Late that night, Trevor's home security system pinged with an alert. The cameras showed 2 figures approaching his house. Wesley, apparently released on bail, and Natasha, both moving with the clumsy urgency of desperate people. Trevor watched from his study as they used Natasha's key to enter his home office. Neither noticed the silent alarm that had already alerted the police, or the cameras recording their every move. "Find the designs," Wesley hissed, his prison stay evident in his disheveled appearance. "If we can destroy the originals before the FBI processes all the evidence." "They're not in the safe," Natasha called back, frantically pulling open drawers. "Wait here. The earthquake bridge plans." Wesley grabbed the papers, starting to shred them by hand in his haste. "Once these are gone, it'll be our word against his about the theft. We can still spin this as his paranoid breakdown." The office door slammed shut with an electronic whir. Both intruders spun around as lights flooded the room. "Police!" Hands where we can see them. Trevor observed through the cameras as Wesley and Natasha were handcuffed, their faces shifting from shock to horror as they realized the designs they destroyed were obvious decoys. The real plans had been secured off-site months ago, along with backup copies of all evidence against them. His phone lit up with a call from the police sergeant. "Mr. Gilbert? We've apprehended 2 intruders. Would you like to press charges?" "The FBI will want to add this to their existing case," Trevor replied calmly. "I'll have my security footage sent over immediately." He ended the call, watching as Wesley and Natasha were led to separate police cars. Their betrayal had been complete, and now, so was their downfall. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. His parents would soon face their own reckoning. Lorraine's disbarment proceedings would begin. The company would need restructuring after the arrests. But for now, Trevor allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. In trying to destroy him, his enemies had destroyed themselves, and he had orchestrated every moment of their fall. The federal courthouse loomed against the morning sky as Wesley Gilbert was led inside, his designer suit replaced by prison orange, his usual swagger reduced to shuffling steps and shackles. The media gathered outside, cameras flashing as reporters shouted questions about corporate espionage and embezzlement. Special Agent Morgan stood with Trevor in an observation room, watching through one-way glass as Wesley was seated for questioning. 3 months of investigation had uncovered far more than the initial patent theft. "Your brother's been busy," Morgan noted, reviewing his files. "We've traced over $12 million in embezzled funds. That beach house? Built entirely with company money laundered through shell corporations." Trevor watched as Wesley fidgeted, his handcuffs clinking against the metal table. "How long? Given the scope of the crimes?" 10 years minimum. The corporate espionage charges alone. Morgan glanced at Trevor. "He's offering to testify against your parents in exchange for leniency." "Of course he is." Trevor's smile was cold, always trying to save himself at someone else's expense. The interrogation room door opened. Wesley's latest lawyer, the third since his arrest, entered with a thick folder of plea agreements. Wesley's face lit up with desperate hope. That hope died as FBI financial crimes investigators began laying out their evidence. Bank records, wire transfers, emails, security footage. A methodically assembled case that had begun with Trevor's initial evidence and grown into something far larger. "Your brother's crying," Morgan observed. "Is he?" Trevor turned away from the window. "Send me the transcript when you're done. I have a meeting to attend." Natasha Bowen paced the marble floors of her attorney's office, her Louboutin heels clicking with each anxious step. Her perfectly maintained appearance showed cracks, smudged mascara, chipped nail polish, designer clothes from last season. "This is ridiculous." She slammed divorce papers onto the mahogany desk. "He's trying to leave me with nothing. Nothing. After 15 years of marriage." Her lawyer, a tired woman in her 50s, sighed. "Mrs. Gilbert." "Ms. Bowen," Natasha snapped. "I've gone back to my maiden name." "Ms. Bowen, given the evidence of your involvement in Mr. Wesley Gilbert's crimes, plus the documented infidelity." The lawyer spread her hands. "You're lucky Mr. Gilbert isn't pursuing criminal charges." "Lucky?" Natasha's laugh held an edge of hysteria. "Wesley's facing prison. His beach house has been seized, and I'm supposed to feel lucky? You committed adultery with your husband's twin brother while helping him steal intellectual property worth millions." The lawyer's tone hardened. "The prenuptial agreement clearly states infidelity voids all claims to marital assets. You should take this settlement offer before." "Before what?" Natasha leaned forward, desperation breaking through her carefully maintained facade. "I know things about Trevor, things that could hurt him. Tell him I want to meet. Tell him I can help him understand why all this happened." "Ms. Bowen," the lawyer stood. Mr. Gilbert's instructions were very clear. All communication goes through counsel. Now, shall we review the settlement terms again? Natasha sank into a chair, her composure finally cracking. "I never thought he was always so quiet, so focused on his work. I never thought he could." "Could what?" "Fight back." The lawyer gathered the divorce papers. "You have 24 hours to accept these terms." After that, Mr. Gilbert will proceed with full litigation and release all evidence of your criminal activities to the prosecutors. Natasha's hands shook as she reached for the papers. Outside the office windows, rain began to fall. Trevor stood at his office window, watching storm clouds gather over the city. Behind him, Sarah organized files on his desk, updating him on the day's developments. "The board has approved the leadership transition plan," she reported. "With your parents facing tax evasion charges and Mr. Dunham's criminal activities exposed, they were eager to demonstrate accountability. And the bridge project? Independent auditors have verified all calculations. Construction begins next month." Sarah paused. "There's one more thing. Natasha tried to reach you again?" Trevor turned from the window. "Through her lawyer?" "No. She came to the office." Sarah's disapproval was evident. Security escorted her out, but she was emotional. Said she needed to explain that you didn't understand why things happened this way. "Did she?" Trevor's voice held no emotion. "Send the security footage to her attorney. It'll be useful when we file the restraining order." Sarah nodded, then hesitated. "Your parents called too. They're facing criminal charges for tax evasion, and the IRS has frozen their assets. They're asking for help." Interesting timing. Trevor sat at his desk, reviewing construction permits. "They weren't interested in my help when they were transferring shares to Wesley. Should I respond?" "No need. Their new reality is not my concern." The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Gilbert? The FBI agents are here for your final statement." Trevor straightened his tie. "Send them in." Special Agent Morgan entered with 2 colleagues, carrying files stamped with federal seals. "Mr. Gilbert, we've completed our investigation into Wesley's activities. Results? 10 years minimum for the corporate espionage and fraud charges. The embezzlement investigation is ongoing, but we've traced funds back nearly a decade." Morgan placed a document on Trevor's desk. "We'll need your statement about when you first noticed discrepancies." Trevor signed where indicated, his signature precise and controlled. "Will there be a trial?" "No. He's accepting a plea deal. 10 years federal time, full restitution, cooperation in ongoing investigations." Morgan collected the signed papers. "He tried to implicate you in some schemes, claimed you were mentally unstable. The evidence proved otherwise." "Of course it did." Trevor stood. "Will you need anything else?" "That's all. Thank you for your cooperation." Morgan paused at the door. "Mr. Gilbert, I've worked financial crimes for 20 years. Never seen someone document their enemy's activities this thoroughly. You knew this was coming, didn't you?" Trevor's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I believe in being prepared, Agent Morgan. Good day." After the FBI left, Trevor returned to his window. Storm clouds had broken, sunlight streaming over the city he would help rebuild. His phone buzzed, Natasha again, this time leaving a tearful voicemail. He deleted it without listening. On his desk, architectural plans for his revolutionary bridge design waited for his final approval. The future belonged to those who planned for it. 1 year later, Trevor stood before a crowd of reporters and dignitaries, sunlight glinting off the sweeping curves of his completed bridge. The structure was a marvel of engineering, its earthquake-resistant design already being studied by universities worldwide. "Mr. Gilbert," a reporter called out, "how does it feel to see your design become reality?" Trevor examined the bridge that had cost his betrayers everything. "It feels like justice." The ceremony proceeded efficiently. Politicians made speeches. Ribbons were cut. Photographers captured the moment his design officially opened to the public. None of the speakers mentioned Wesley, now serving his sentence in federal prison, or Natasha, who had fled across the country after accepting a brutal divorce settlement, or his parents, living in obscurity after their financial crimes became public, or Lorraine, disbarred for her ethical violations. Trevor had methodically dismantled their worlds while building his greatest achievement. The bridge would stand for generations, while those who betrayed him had fallen into well-deserved ruin. As celebrations continued around him, Trevor allowed himself a small smile. He had emerged stronger, wiser, and utterly victorious. His revenge, like his engineering, had been a masterwork of precision and planning. The bridge stretched before him, a monument to the price of betrayal, and the power of patience, intelligence, and carefully planned revenge. Epilogue: 5 years later. The story of Trevor Gilbert's revenge became legendary in engineering circles, whispered in boardrooms, and discussed in ethics classes at prestigious universities. Not as a warning against betrayal, but as a lesson in underestimating quiet men who kept meticulous records and planned for every contingency. Trevor stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, now occupying the entire top floor of Gilbert Engineering Group's headquarters. At 47, his presence commanded even more respect than before, silver threading his temples and victory adding a sharp edge to his success. The company had tripled in size under his leadership, his revolutionary bridge design spawning a new era in earthquake-resistant architecture. Sarah Chun, now Chief Operations Officer, entered with their morning briefing. After proving her loyalty during the crisis, she'd become his most trusted executive. The latest report on Wesley came in, she noted, pulling up details on her tablet. His third appeal was denied. He's still got 5 years left on his sentence, assuming good behavior, which according to his prison records isn't happening. Trevor's reflection smiled slightly in the glass. His cellmate? Still feeding us regular updates. Wesley spends most days in the prison library, writing long letters to industry contacts. No one responds anymore. Sarah paused. He tried to publish a memoir claiming he was framed. No publisher would touch it after our legal team reached out. And Natasha? Working as a real estate agent in Phoenix. Her third attempt at a luxury lifestyle comeback failed when potential clients kept finding news articles about her role in corporate espionage. She tried to date another wealthy executive last month, but our anonymous tip about her history ended that quickly. Sarah's tone held satisfaction. The divorce settlement's ironclad terms prevent her from profiting from any tell-all books or interviews. She's living in a one-bedroom apartment, driving a 10-year-old Honda. Trevor turned from the window. My parents? Still living in that small condo in Florida. Your father's attempts to consult for engineering firms keep failing apparently. No one wants tax evaders advising their projects. Your mother's bridge club uninvited her after the third time she tried to defend Wesley's innocence. Lorraine? Working as a paralegal in Nebraska after her disbarment. She tried to apply for readmission to the bar last year, but the ethics committee received an anonymous package detailing her role in the patent theft attempt. Sarah smiled. The application was denied. Trevor nodded, satisfaction evident in his bearing. And the company? Stock's up 300% since you took complete control. The Gilbert method of earthquake-resistant design is being taught in engineering schools worldwide. We've got contracts on 3 continents, and that profile in Engineering Monthly called you the most innovative structural engineer of the century. Sarah checked her notes. Also, Wesley's beach house, the one seized by the FBI. We just bought it at auction for pennies on the dollar. Plans? Demolition starts next week. The land will be donated to the city for a public park named after your bridge design. Trevor's smile widened slightly. The property's destruction would be filmed, photographs sent to Wesley's prison cell. Another small reminder of the price of betrayal. The industry dinner is tonight, Sarah reminded him. They're presenting you with the Lifetime Achievement Award. Several board members suggested you might want to mention reconciliation with your family in your speech show forgiveness. They said, did they? Trevor straightened his custom suit. Interesting suggestion from men who kept their positions only by proving they hadn't known about Wesley's crimes. Sarah's phone buzzed. Update from Phoenix. Natasha just lost another job after her employer discovered her history. She's asking her lawyer to contact you about revising the divorce terms. Standard response? Already sent. All terms are final, per Section 8.3 of the agreement. Sarah hesitated. She included a note saying she misses you, that she's changed. Trevor's laugh held no warmth. After 5 years, she still thinks emotional manipulation might work. Forward the note to her therapist, the one our investigators found she's been lying to about her recovery. Sarah nodded, making a note. One last thing. That junior engineer you promoted last month? Background check revealed he's been sharing project details with a competitor. Handle it. Already done. Anonymous evidence sent to the competitor's board showing he was playing both sides. He's being fired this afternoon. Sarah's smile matched Trevor's in its coldness. The official announcement will cite ethical concerns fitting, since he tried to play the same game as Wesley. Trevor returned to contemplating his city view. His bridge dominated the skyline, its innovative design a testament to what he'd built from the ashes of betrayal. He never remarried, finding more satisfaction in his work and the occasional updates about his enemies' continuing struggles. The Gilbert Engineering Group's ethical compliance training now includes a section on corporate loyalty, Sarah added. Your stories required reading for every new hire. Not the official version, the whispered one, about what happens to people who betray Trevor Gilbert. Good. Trevor checked his watch. The award ceremony? Cars waiting. You're giving the keynote on building foundations of trust. Sarah's tone held appreciation for the irony. The industry journal wants to run another profile, focusing on how you transformed personal betrayal into professional triumph. Approve it. Trevor gathered his materials. Make sure they mention Wesley's current address, the one with the bars on the windows. As they headed to the elevator, Sarah glanced at her tablet one final time. Update from the prison. Wesley tried to join the engineering education program. The warden denied his application after receiving an anonymous letter detailing his corporate espionage history. Trevor's only response was a slight nod. 5 years had passed, and still, his revenge ran like clockwork, grinding his betrayers smaller with each quiet turn of the wheels he'd set in motion. The elevator descended toward the waiting car. Tonight, he'd accept another award, his success a daily reminder to everyone who'd underestimated him. His parents would watch the ceremony on TV in their modest Florida condo. Wesley would read about it in his prison cell. Natasha would see it on social media between failed attempts to rebuild her life. Lorraine would file it in the legal documents she now processed instead of authored. And Trevor? Trevor would continue building his empire, his reputation for brilliance matched only by the whispered warnings. Never cross the quiet man who plans in silence and strikes without mercy. Never betray the engineer who builds monuments to both innovation and revenge. The elevator reached the lobby. Trevor straightened his tie, ready to accept another accolade while his enemies continued paying their perpetual penance. Time had proven what he'd known all along: the sweetest revenge wasn't just about destroying his betrayers. It was about thriving while they withered, about building monuments while they languished in obscurity. It was about ensuring that every day of their lives became a reminder of the morning they thought they could destroy Trevor Gilbert, not realizing they were only setting the foundation for their own destruction. Sarah held the car door. Ready, sir? Trevor smiled, the expression as calculated and precise as every blueprint he'd ever drawn. Always. The car pulled away from the curb, carrying him toward another triumph while somewhere, in a prison cell, a small apartment, a Florida condo, and a Nebraska legal office, his betrayers faced another day of living with the consequences of underestimating a quiet man who'd turned revenge into an art form. Their betrayal had cost them everything. His revenge had given him the world. And that, as every new Gilbert Engineering employee learned, was the only ending worth building. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.